What is going on, y'all? Robert Sykes, KetoSavage.com, and I've got a question for you today around autism and the ketogenic or carnivore diet. But before we dive into that, let's roll the intro. All right, so this question is brought to us by Liz, and she asks, thoughts on what best helps autism, keto or carnivore? So it's interesting, I actually just had Dr. Georgia Eid on the podcast, and highly recommend y'all listen to that one, but she is a leading psychiatrist around nutrition and how that impacts different cognitive functions, both from a neurodegeneration standpoint and also from a psychotherapy standpoint. So when you think of brain issues whatsoever when it comes to Alzheimer's, dementia, or bipolar disorder, OCD, or autism, there are pretty much three main driving factors that impair that from a brain cognitive function standpoint. So you've got insulin resistance, you've got inflammation, and you've got oxidative stress due to free radicals. If you mitigate against those three via a well-formulated ketogenic diet, you can certainly improve your odds of mitigating those adverse outcomes that come from neurodegeneration, such as Alzheimer's or dementia, or the psychotherapies, psychiatrics, such as bipolar, OCD, autism, things of that nature. Some of this is going to be genetic to some extent. Some of it's going to be environmental. Some of it's going to be toxin-related. But when you look at Alzheimer's and dementia, for instance, type 3 diabetes, as they are now calling it, that is basically the outcome of what is happening neurologically that is also happening in a type 2 diabetic's, toes and fingers that are having to get amputated, or loss of eyesight, because all of that glycation, that excessive, sugar, their blood sugar they've been dealing with for years and years and years, is causing poor circulation in those capillary vessels that is resulting in the loss of those fingers and loss of eyesight. The same thing is happening in the brain as your body becomes more insulin resistant. Now, ketones can cross the blood-brain barrier, provide direct energy for the brain, and the glucose that the brain does need, your body can create endogenously through gluconeogenesis. So from a neuroprotective standpoint, mitigating against insulin resistance is very easily done via a ketogenic protocol. Ketones are also anti-inflammatory, as well as the ketogenic diet, so you're mitigating in that regard. And then as far as the oxidative stress goes, a well-formulated ketogenic diet or carnivore diet can certainly aid in that as well. The ketogenic diet, as many of y'all know, was originally used in the 20s. 1921, I believe, is when it started for children with epileptic seizures. Now, at that point, they were doing a 4-to-1 ketogenic diet, so basically 4 parts fat for every 1 part combination of protein and carbohydrate. That was a bit extreme. You don't need to go that extreme. People can find these benefits with a 2-to-1 or even 1-to-1 scenario in certain cases. So experiment with that. The ketogenic diet and the carnivore diet can both hedge against these outcomes. A carnivore diet is a more restrictive version of keto. But one thing to note, many people that adopt a carnivore diet consume a ton of protein relative to dietary fat. Oftentimes they don't consume enough dietary fat. And if you are deficient in dietary fat relative to protein, your ketone production is going to be downregulated and your glucose response may be elevated. So I would encourage you to follow a higher fat version of a carnivore diet if you're trying to optimize for neurological function and hedge against things like autism. In this case. Now, autism, again, there's a lot of things we don't know about autism. Some of it can be genetic, some of it can be, again, toxin-related. There's a lot of assumptions as to what is the primary driver there, but if you hedge against the insulin resistance, the inflammation, and the oxidative stress via a higher fat version that produces ample ketone bodies and minimizes excessive glucose, you can certainly stack the chips in your favor as it pertains to, being protective towards autism and mitigating against the outcomes of autism. Again, going back to Dr. Georgia Eid, she has worked with people that have suffered from autism, and many of those responses can be mitigated against or minimized as a result of a well-formulated ketogenic or carnivore diet. So give that a shot. Make sure you're taking in ample dietary fat and keeping your blood sugar down low to help hedge against those things. Appreciate the question, Liz. You requested some chocolate peanut butter cup bricks, so I'm going to send some of those your way. For anybody that does not know how these AMA videos work, if you submit me a well-thought-out question via the link in the description below and I use your question, then I'll be sending you some free keto bricks with a flavor of your choosing. Thank you all so very much. Talk to you next time.